Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, or good evening, maybe. Not sure where you are in the world. But we start soon with the live stream. Just finish some last final setups, and then we go live. Good morning, Jeffrey. How are you? Mhm. Let me know if you can hear me, and let me know if you have any questions. I'm here to respond to them. I stopped the music now, so you should hear me clearly. All right, great. So let me just jump to the screen share, and then we'll get started here. I just had some issues with the camera setup because I'll just show you. So currently my camera is coming from my phone, and I just had to do a different setup than usual. I don't know why really, but I just share my screen, and you should see a Google Drive docs. So let me know if you can see it, and then I just go over the intro, let you know what you can expect on this call, and then we'll get started on the high-level updates. All right, so let's get started. In today's live call, we do the, let's say, usual setup, but it's been like two live calls so far, but we'll start with some high-level updates, and then I'm going to share some meta S strategies, and at the end we can do some Q&A. I already have a couple of questions from the school community, and then if you have anything to add or any more questions, just let me know, and then yeah, I can respond to it. It's going to be at the end of the live call. Um, yeah. So first, let's start with the most recent high-level updates. So I started adding the dates because I'm doing this every week or maybe multiple times a week. So I figured it would be helpful. So this is for week 36. And again, we have 5 new updates coming to high level. These are one of the most recent ones. So the number one is the new forms builder, and it's basically added inside the funnel builder. Now you can do it inside your funnel. You don't need to leave the funnel part and then go back to sites, go to funnel builder, make the edits. I had this update in a previous video, but if you haven't seen it, I just show you an example. So here's one of my landing pages, and I have a pop-up, and here I'm using a form. And let's say I want to start collecting phone numbers as well on this form. Now, if you click on the form, on the right side, you have edit form, and you can just go inside and add more fields to your form. For example, I want to collect the phone numbers. I just drag and drop, and now it's collecting the phone numbers as well. You can just save and exit this form, and it's now collecting phone numbers as well. It was as easy as that. So it makes editing easier. It's gonna save you some time, but actually I don't want to collect phone numbers now, so I just remove it and save again. And then on the funnel side, the autosave is already turned on. So it's gonna make sure you will not lose any changes, but I just publish to make sure the latest changes are live. So that's the number one update we had this week. And the second is we have multiple pop-ups on the same landing page. So now we have an exit pop-up as well, because let's say, so this is my funnel, this button, the button action is next step currently, but it could be a pop-up, which I had it earlier do. And the pop-up is going to be the form. We are going to collect their data, but let's say you have some other actions that you, or some more data that you want to collect. Now you can go to the pop-up settings and then create a new pop-up. And this new pop-up is going to be an exit pop-up. So once they are on desktop, high level actually knows where your mouse is, like where you are going currently in the header or going to the click a button. But if you are going to exit the page, once you are exit, it's gonna know it has to work with the exit pop-up. So the exit pop-up is going to pop up, and then you can add a new offer here. For example, on e-commerce sites, it's often, hey, don't leave yet. We'll give you a 10% discount if you purchase now. So that's one way to keep the leads before they leave your website or leave your funnel. So now you can have multiple pop-ups, and the first pop-up, let's say, is going to be still connected to a button action. If you go here and then select open pop-up instead of next step. So just something interesting I wanted to mention. I'm not going to be using exit pop-ups now, but here is where it gets interesting. So the next update, number 3, is going to be for compliancy and for building trust. So on the last week call, I had some other automatic features, which was for the email deliverability. So earlier you had to do a bunch of DNS setups and settings to make sure your emails land in the primary box and not under spam or under promotions. Now that's been automated. So high level is going to do it automatically for you. And now here's another update, is just compliancy. So here's a screenshot under phone system advanced settings. Now you can just turn these on and then make your SMS compliant by adding sender information and then adding an opt-out message. So it's gonna automatically add that you can reply stop anytime to stop the SMS marketing, for example, because it's different in every country. It's different in Europe with the GDPR. I know California has some strict rules as well. So now GoHighLevel is going to do it instead of you to stay compliant and then to make sure if you are sending thousands and multiple hundreds of thousands SMSs monthly maybe, then you are going to stay compliant and you won't have any legal problems. But of course, if you have higher volume, it's still best to maybe connect with a lawyer or a compliance officer. But this is something to make sure we look better, and then just to make sure we are not going to end up in the spam folders also. So again, this can be found under phone system, advanced test settings, under your agency account. But here I have something else. So next step, number 4, the next update we have is the new template library. So we have some bigger thumbnails, enhanced previews, more insights, and a seamless toggle between grid and list views. You can also easily switch between mobile, table, and then desktop mode. So I remember last week when we had the updates, I showed some new templates that rolled out both for the funnels and the websites, but now we just have a better user interface. So I already have this prepared. Let's say I'm under funnels. I want to create a new funnel, so I go to templates, continue. So here's where you can switch between the grid and list layout. And once you go to the list, you can actually see how many downloads each template has. So for example, this one has 152 downloads already. So I figured this would be a nice one to use. It has big thumbnails, so I kind of get an idea of how it looks, what options the landing page has. And if you go to preview, you can here select the different placements. So currently I'm looking at desktop, but let's say I want to do a mobile layout and just switch over, and then it's pretty easy and it loads quick, except the images, but you also need to wait for the images every time, so it's not bad. And then I really like how you have the data of how many downloads each template has. So for example, if you go to most popular, you can compare the numbers. So the most popular is the business services with over 20K downloads. And then the number 2 is SaaS sales. So if you want something unique, you probably shouldn't use these two templates. But if you scroll down, you can get around the 2K, 1K range. And these are going to be a bit more unique. But if you stick with the most recent, the recent templates are also looking pretty nice. So that's something on the preview side. And next up, we have another update in the funnel builder. So finally, a new feature, you can blur backgrounds and you can add a gradient background. So the color is going to change as you scroll. This is a great feature because if you are not a designer, you had to play around with this, and I had it happen to me as well. I don't really know how to create a gradient background, so I was playing around in Photoshop, Canva, and then you had to add it to the GoHighLevel funnel. So now it's much easier. For example, I have my landing page here. You just click on the background and then you can go under the general settings. And here, if you select the background drop down, you can add an image, of course, add a video. But if you add a color, you have the gradient option. And then currently it's going from blue to white. But you can change the starting color and the end color. So let's say I want the start color to be one of my brand colors. I already have the brand colors added. It was from a previous video. And then end color, I just want to use white. So now it's going from white to my branded green. I would need to change the image to make sure it has a transparent background, but it looks pretty sick. And then you can change, currently it's linear, but you can make it coming from the middle, or you can angle it, but I think just the linear looks the best. You can change the sensitivity, how aggressive the color is. If you pull it to 100%, it's actually gonna start at the top already. And you can change the angles if you use the angled one. If you add image, you can change the background blur. It doesn't really apply here because it's just a color, but those are some new updates that's gonna make your funnel or website stand out better. I think it's a great update again, and as you see, super simple to use. So those are the 5 most recent updates to high level. I'll have this document in my school group as well as the live replay. So you can grab this, download this, and then see the detailed description, for example, about the gradient background color. And that's all for the most recent updates. So next we'll jump to some meta ad strategies. I have some exciting strategies for you. So let me just change my screen and go to audience setups. So I prepared a document again. This is going to be as a classroom section in my paid school community with more details. Now we're just going to do a quick overview, but Meta Ads audience setups is something super simple, yet many advertisers get it wrong and then they waste money on targeting the wrong audience, or even worse, hitting the same people over and over, and it gets really annoying once you see the same ad the fifth or the sixth time. So I'll show you how to set up new audiences, how to do exclusions, retargeting. So first, when to use audiences. Why should you use audiences? Because with the most recent changes on Meta, with the Advantage Plus options and the AI additions, Meta is getting really good at actually knowing your target audience, sometimes even better than you do. So now it's all about having the correct ad copies and having the correct creatives. So you really don't need to play around with the audiences currently. I don't really believe in adding interests. For example, if you are selling fitness gear, for example, you don't need to add fitness or sports or activities anymore in the interest section because it's automatically going to target your best audience. So it's best to use audiences when you want to exclude certain audiences. For example, if you have a new customer offer, let's say they join your email list and they get 10% off, you don't want those ads running to your existing customers who are already part of your email address because they can take advantage and it just doesn't look really professional. It's also great if you want to set up remarketing campaigns or you want to target a specific audience, especially a customer list. So if you have a customer list of, let's say, people who buy who buy from your Shopify store at least 3 times, then you can export that as a list, upload it to Meta, and then you only have an offer to those audiences. You can target them if you upload a customer list. Or it's also great if you want to separate your campaigns by top of funnel, middle of funnel, bottom of funnel. But as I said, I don't really think it's a must now. So basically, if you want to set up audiences, first you need to have a pixel set up correctly. If you have a website, you are selling on a website, or you are collecting leads on a website, the pixel has to be set up correctly. I already have at least 2 videos on this on my YouTube account, and then some videos in my school group as well. So that's number one. And the number two is also you need to make sure you have a Facebook and Instagram page connected to your business manager. I also have a video on how you can create a business manager, and then I show you the exact steps. So if you don't have it, you can just search on my YouTube account or join my free school community. Link in the description below, but these are the first 2 steps you need to make sure you have ready. Then you can go to audiences, which is the number 1 step. I included the link, but if you are in your ad account under the campaigns level, it's going to be on the top left, this icon, and then it's going to be audiences. So you need to click here. And the next step is going to be clicking the create audience. So it's going to be a blue button on the top left corner. I already have a bunch of audience in my ad account. You also need to make sure if you have multiple ad accounts that you are under the correct ad account. So I'm currently under my own ad account. Create audience. And then if it's your first audience, you need to click on custom audience. And then here you can select the audience source. So let's say you select Instagram account. You click next. And then under source, you select which Instagram account you want to use as a source. So for me, I just use my own Instagram account. And then for the events, you can select people who recently started following your account or everyone who engaged with your account. So that means they've seen your posts, they liked your comment, or they started following you, or you can just target profile visitors. So the options are pretty much endless. You can retarget people who sent a message to you, and you can select an audience retention. So this is basically the time frame that you want to target your audience. So let's say I usually recommend the 90 days because 365, I mean, who's gonna remember that they visited your account a year ago? Even 90 days might be too much, but if you don't have crazy reach, for me, for example, the last 90 days is going to be about 10K people, so it's not crazy. On the document, I have some recommended audiences for your campaigns. So I like to use social engagers. So let's say Instagram, last 90 days, and my naming collection is just IG engagers 90 day. And then I just add my Instagram. So I know which audience I want to use or retarget. I'll actually do a remarketing campaign soon for these audiences because I'm going to be running ads to my free school community. And then I'm going to retarget those people who have seen those ads. I'm going to retarget them with the paid community as well. So it's going to be part of my strategy. And then we can just create the audience. And next we have some more options. So we can either create another custom audience or create a lookalike audience. I'll show how you can create another custom audience. So for example, now we'll go to the website. So let's click next. So here is why you need to select a pixel. This is why you need to have a pixel ready. So for example, I have the pixel installed on my paid school community. So let's say I want to do all website visitors. So everyone who visited my school about page, for example. Audience retention, let's say I want to do 60 days. And then I'm going to name it paid school visits 60 days. And then I'm going to create an audience. And from here, you can create a lookalike audience. And there are multiple ways to create a lookalike audience. So after creating a custom audience, you can create a lookalike audience based on this new custom audience. And the lookalike audience is just basically similar people to your audience. It's best used, I would say, with e-commerce stores where you have website purchasers in the last 60 days. You can create a lookalike of those people and then have a pretty nice and engaged audience. But it works with websites and let's say with a school group as well, because you see I already have some lookalikes in my account, for example, completed registrations. So that means they signed up for my free school community. But I'll show an example on how you can create a new lookalike. So let's say we just created the paid school visits in the last 60 days. So just make sure you select this and then you can create a new lookalike audience, or you can create the three dots and then create a lookalike. So let's go with this option because it already has your lookalike audience source because we have the paid school group visits selected. A lookalike audience can be only in one country. So you need to select a location. Most of my visits are coming from the US, so I'm just going to type United States, and then you can select your audience size. So I usually go with a 1% lookalike audience. Changing the slider and going to 10% means you are going to have a broader audience, but the audience quality might suffer. So I just suggest going with a 1%. Even that's, I mean, it's fine. Almost 3 million people is going to be just enough. And here you don't have a naming convention. It's going to name based on your existing custom audience, and then it's going to add the percentage and the country, which is US. Then you just create an audience and it's ready. You can already use it in the ads, but currency is populating, so it's going to have better data in a day or a week. And next, I want to go back to the document and show some of the best practices if you want to use custom audiences in your ads or where you can add those. So you can add custom audiences under your ad set level. So here's my most recent campaign. I'm going to run ads to my paid school community. It's a creative test, but if I go inside and edit, I can just scroll down. You see my naming convention already. It's an Advantage Plus broad audience. So I don't have any exclusions, but if I wanted to add, I need to scroll down, not the budget, but here under the audience option. So currently it's the Advantage Plus audience, which means if let's say I want to add a suggestion that I want to target only entrepreneurs, let's say, or business owners. So I'm going to type business owners. So let's say, yeah, small business owners is fine. Next, it's gonna be just a suggestion to Meta Ads because it's using the Advantage Plus option, and you can read it. It's creating more opportunities to improve performance with AI. So it's basically just a suggestion to Meta. You can, however, set a minimum age to your ads, and you can set a custom audience exclusion. But in my experience, it's not as accurate if you were using, let's say, just the normal um, customer, or sorry, the normal audience options. So if you want to use the original setup, you need to go to further limit the reach of your ads, and then you need to switch setups. So now it's the original audience setup, and then here you can add the location. Still have the US. You can add custom audiences. So let's say you want to only target people who have seen your Instagram posts. And then you want to run ads to these people, but you also want to exclude an audience. For example, those who've seen your school group. So paid school visits, I'm going to exclude. And the point of this, let's say in the Instagram campaign, I want to, as I'm doing now, I want to advertise my school group. But if they have already visited my school page, I don't want to double target them. So I'm going to exclude those audiences. So this is how you can set up. And then you often see this as a suggestion. So if you have this on, it's not going to exclude all those audiences. It's just going to reach similar audiences, which means it's just going to target broad. So in my best practices, I have this mentioned that you should not extend your audience size by using the recommended audience, because then it's just going to use them as a suggestion, and then it's going to go broad, and there's no point of using the original audiences. You could just use the Advantage Plus because it's going to target uh, custom and broad audiences anyway. So this is how you set up. You always add audiences on the ad set level, but I'm just going to keep mine as is. So I'm going to discard this draft, and I'm going to edit this into a full video. And then you will find this inside my school community, as well as this document with the best practices, with the URLs and everything else. So next I'm going to jump to the Q&A section. So if you have any questions, just drop them in the chat, but I also have a document ready. These are some questions you had in my school community. I made a post in advance and told you you can drop your questions, and then I'm going to respond to them on this call. So here's the screen. I had 3 questions from my school group, and then you can ask your questions now in the live chat as well as in my free community. I have a link in the video description. This is the first link, and you can also just type this URL. But the question 1 is going to be, what's the best way to test creatives without wasting budget? So this is on Meta Ads, and I would just suggest you use an ABO testing. So that means you set the budget on the ad set level. But what's most important is you track your KPIs from day one. So I made a video on this and I added this to the document, but basically it's titled Top Meta Ad KPIs to Track. And in here I go over the main KPIs that you should target. So that means CTR, CPC, and I have benchmark for all of those. So in the video, let's say you want to see CPC, then you just go inside, and CPC stands for cost per click. On the left side, I have some industry benchmarks. For example, the auto industry, it's over $2. So you can compare your data. But usually my benchmark for CPC is $1. I mean, with the US audience, you rarely go go under 50 cents. But $1 is a great benchmark. And it also depends on your messaging. So the text and headline you use in your ad copies is going to affect your CPC. And then next, your best creative testing benchmark is going to be the click-through rates, which is CTR. Again, I have a benchmark of 1%. And then let's say your ads are starting out with a 0.3% CTR, then you already know it's not going to perform. And then you can just cut those because CTR is too high. And if you just spend more money, usually it doesn't get any better. So I recommend you watch the KPI video, but you should really just look for the benchmarks. And if your ads are under the benchmark, usually there's no point of running them because they are not going to turn out to be crazy, crazy performers or amazing winners. The next question is, what's the easiest way to automate follow-ups? So this is for e-commerce. So these KPIs you can use for e-commerce, lead gen, or basically any campaigns. I suggest using them. If you are running an engagement campaign on Meta, those are going to be the cheapest ones. So usually an engagement campaign has better CTRs, but if you are going for a lead gen or a purchase campaign, I recommend sticking to these benchmarks. Yeah. So for lead campaigns, I would use the same numbers: 1% CTR, $1 CPC, and I can just make a new video on this just to update this layout because it's pretty outdated. But if you go through this, you see the CPM and all the other breakdown, as well as some custom metrics that I have at the end. For example, if you have an e-commerce website, you can measure hook rates. If you have an e-commerce website, you can measure add to cart to link click ratios or purchase to add to cart ratios. And then here are some custom metrics you can use for video testing: hook rates and hold rates. For both of them, 25% is a great benchmark. So if you are running video ads, it's also important to check these. Okay, nice. Question 2 is, what's the easiest way to automate follow-ups? So this one is a high-level question, and it's going to be actually a sneak peek into my next tutorial video. I'm going to make a full guide that's going to be at least 30 to 40 minutes long. So I'm currently working on this, but please stay patient. It's gonna be a longer guide, but here's one follow-up that I use. So this is in high level. This is just a super basic automation. I have a form submitted trigger, and then I add a tag, create an opportunity, and then assign it to a user, which is me or my VA. And then I have an internal notification that, hey, someone has filled out the form. So we wait 1 minute, and then we send the first email. In this case, it was a lead magnet with e-commerce quick wins. I was doing an ebook. So I had a template and then it just looked like this. Let me just show you the edit version. So this is my template that I was using for the emails. It has my custom color, my my image, my website, and then just thanks for grabbing the guide. Click below to download it, and then inside you'll find the 5 quick wins to help your store make more money. So what I recommend if you do any kind of automations, once you finish or you go to the end step, I recommend adding a wait X amount of days. For example, I just added 3,000 days, so there's plenty time, but it's great because they are going to be in this automation flow. And let's say now I want to reactivate these leads. I want to add 5 more emails. So now I can just duplicate this action, copy action, and then you can just paste the action under the weight. And then you can just change the weight to, let's say, 1 day. And then you can push all of your leads in this step to the next step with this button. So select contacts to move them to the next step. So I can just select all the contacts and then push them to the next step. So I think it's just best to have a wait as the last step always, in case you want to reactivate these leads in GoHighLevel. So to answer your question, I think the easiest way to automate follow-ups is just using GoHighLevel, building a super simple automation, and then just sending emails. You see I have my email, and then it's pretty easy to do. If you guys want, I can make a snapshot and then give away 1 or 2 templates that you can use for these simple automations. But now GoHighLevel also has a workflow AI that's going to help you create more automations. Next, the last question I have is how I balance organic and paid traffic. So it all just depends on what's your budget. I mean, if you have money to pour into your campaigns, then go ahead and start paid advertising. You can see results starting as low as $10 to $15 per day. I wouldn't go below that because then it's going to be super slow. And then if you start running paid ads, I suggest you wait at least 2 or 3 days actually to get some data because there are going to be weaker and better days. Me personally, let's say I'm thinking about my free school community. I I'm going to start running paid traffic to my school community, but it's going to be around just $10 per day because I already get a bunch of organic traffic. One way to get organic traffic is SEO and search. So lots of people just search meta ads on school and then my communities pop up and then they join or they see my videos and then I get organic leads. Mm. So for example, if you go to discover communities on school and then you search for meta ads, I have 2 communities on meta ads. So here's the meta ads basics, number 4. So if you search, I'm number 4, you'll see it's pretty eye-catching. And then if you are an English user, you see this one is for Latin America, this one is in German, and this one is also in German. And then this one, I believe, is in Spanish. So I'm basically the first group to pop up as an English group. So you go inside, you see it's meta ad basics, and then you see my about page, grow your business with meta ads, generate leads like crazy, and I have what you'll get in my group. So currently I'm mostly using organic to grow both of my school groups, but now I'm going to be adding paid traffic. And that's also how I started my school journey. So for the first 150 members, they all came from Facebook ads. So I actually practiced what I preach and I use Meta ads to grow my business. So there's actually one more question I see in the live chat. So Jeffrey, it was from you. So you have a whiteboard GoHighLevel, and then you want to get the information off of it, and if you don't want to use the host services. So that's something I'm also going to make a video on. And that would be basically just moving all your data from one sub account to another. So there's 2 ways to do this. You can also just sign up with an affiliate link and then get a free high-level trial. For example, in my description, I have a 14-day free trial. And if you actually sign up with my link, you get free access to my paid school community, which is now 47 per month. So, and then you also get free high-level access. And then I'll show you how you can migrate all your sub-account data to your own high-level account. But keep in mind, if you create your own high-level account, you'll have to pay extra because you need to pay taxes. And depending on where you live, it's going to add the VAT, which is going to be 15 to 20% usually, which is actually more expensive. So it depends on what kind of deal you get with your current high-level account, depends on how much you pay. But if you join my paid school community, which is, I mentioned, it's currently 47 per month. As a bonus, you also get a free high-level sub account. So I can just take your data, mm, import, give you a new sub account. I'll have all your data on your sub account, just like you have now, and you pay only 47 per month. And then you also have access to all my everything in the classroom, the advanced meta guides, and then more live weekly calls in the group. So for example, in the calendar, if we, let's say in September, in the first week, we had 4 calls, these live calls, and then I have calls just for the group inside. Then you get access to my community as well. But it's not hard to migrate your data from one sub account from another. I think it's going to be best if I just create another video on this. So Jeffrey, I know you are already in the freeze community. So I'll reach out to you and then I'll help you. And then hopefully I understood your question correctly. And then hopefully it helps. So that's all the questions that I had for this week from my school community. If you have any other questions, just drop them now in the description or under the comment section, under the live. Otherwise, I'm going to end this call soon. So drop your questions now, or I'll see you next week when I have the next live call. And then if you missed the beginning of this call, I'm going to discuss again some high-level updates, some meta strategies, and then I'll answer your questions. Here are the current updates that we discussed on this call. So if I go back to the first slide that I was showing, these are the most recent high-level updates again. Exit pop-up, compliance, a new template library, and then adding gradient and blur backgrounds. So thank you, Jeffrey. Thank you for everyone for being here today. I'm going to end the call and then I'll see you next week. Take care and have a good weekend. Bye-bye.